University of Mumbai, and she has more than 23 years of experience as an academician and scientist. She pursued her B Pharma and M Pharma from the Nagpur University and PhD in technology from the University of Mumbai. She's a gold medalist from the Nagpur University 1996 batch. Dr. Majumdar's area of specialization is pharmacology. She has been faculty in Bombay College of Pharmacy, and her research areas include neuropharmacology, metabolic pharmacology, and novel drug delivery systems. Her research thrust is on mitochondrial dysfunction in diseases and disorders. She has several patents, publications, book chapters, and international presentations to her credit. Dr. Majumdar has successfully completed a significant number of government-sponsored projects, including the AICTE, BRNS DAE, DBT, DBT BIRAC, UGC major projects, etc. Over and above all of this, she is a consultant to pharmaceutical and allied industries and has completed several industry-sponsored projects. Very recently, her proof of concept on a drug delivery system platform has been selected by Cipla Limited in its Innoventia drive and has been taken up by the company for further development. She has taken up the mantle of Dean, Science and Technology since more than a year and has worked relentlessly towards upward benchmarking of academics and research at the University of Mumbai. With this just a very short glimpse of Dr. Majumdar, and without taking much of the precious time with respect to the students, I hand over to you, ma'am. A very warm welcome once again on behalf of GN Khalsa College. Thank you. Am I audible?
Audible, but madam is on a phone call. Just wait for a moment. She will start.
Okay. Okay, sure. Meanwhile, Shraddha, I just want to express apologies for whatever has happened.
Okay. No problem at all. No problem.
Yeah, at some other platform, we'll certainly discuss about it, but heartfelt apologies for whatever happened today.
To me, yes. I thought the echo. Yes. A very good afternoon. A very good afternoon. Greetings from my side to all our dear students who have joined today. Professor Garje, Associate Dean, Joshi Madam, who has been coordinating, and all my who are from the. So, Shraddha Madam, should I go ahead, or do you want me to sort of, do you want to steer it in some way?
No, ma'am. We can always start it. Over to you, ma'am. Rather, students are keen listening you. So over to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for all this. Thank you, Shraddha Madam. I'm sorry for all these discrepancies and this, because meetings have just come out and sat in an office space so that I don't disturb them, but at the same time I can speak to our dear students. So let me, as has been introduced to you, I would like to sort of give a brief background to our students. And I'm basically a PhD tech in pharmacology.
I'm sorry, but your voice is cracking a lot. I mean, we really.
So my background is a B Pharma, M Pharma tech in a voice.
Yeah, ma'am, lot of voice breaking.
Okay.
And you're not audible at all.
I'll just try to get this near my face so that, you know, the disturbance which is there due to the fan here or something is minimized. Can you hear me better, or still my sound is muffled?
Ma'am, it's relatively better now.
Thanks, Mohit, for the confirmation. What has happened is the area where I'm sitting has multiple fans, ceiling fans. Okay, now it's better. Okay, fine. Should I continue? I'll continue.
Yes, ma'am.
So, my dear students, I understand you all are from a diverse background of BSc and MSc, biotechnology, bioanalytical sciences, bioinformatics, and nutraceuticals. And it's indeed my privilege to discuss with you the career opportunities, the research areas which are available in these subjects. But you know, nowadays there's a lot of thrust on interdisciplinary, and you will find that these subjects are very much applied to many domains. And you have the advantage of entering any of these domains based on your
एक बीमारी जो धीरे धीरे वक्त के साथ बुढ़ापे में बदल जाती है.
Ma'am, you can continue. I've muted.
Teddy, you have to mute yourself. So what happens is, which are covered under biotechnology, aspects of genomics, bioinformatics, plant and animal biotechnology, medical biotechnology, environment and biodiversity, biofuels, products, process development, then bioinstrumentation, then human resource development, biosafety, very, very niche. I wanted you all to understand that typically an industry can be categorized essentially into service and product based. So either you would be entering a career which would be service based or product based. Services can be of myriad types. You may be, you know, gathering information, or you might be providing some specific service. But when it comes to product, then you have the typical industry. You might be entering the pharmaceutical industry or the herbal Ayurvedic industry, biotech industry, vaccine industry. All these industries, you will find that typically there'll be a manufacturing process involved and a service of R&D, research and development, the quality assurance, which will actually also cover quality control department. You will have, a front end group, which is also into sales and marketing, be it whatever the product. It can be vaccine, it can be a pharmaceutical product, it can be a wellness product, etc. And also a nutraceutical or a functional food, etc. Now, what RUSA has sort of done a survey, and they have projected that 40 to 60% of jobs which we would witness in the forthcoming decade or more does not exist today. You know, we don't even know the concepts. Very similar to, my dear students, when we came to know about Industry 4.0, you know how industry evolved. Industry 2, we saw mechanization, we saw continuous process. Industry 3, we saw a lot of involvement of internet. And also further mechanization and continuous process. But now Industry 4, you know the link and hyphenation with the involvement of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So my dear students, what RUSA said is that the jobs which we might witness or which might come into being after 10 to 15 years We don't even have the concept of it today. So what we are doing as educationists, your colleges have done, is giving you a robust foundation. And you are supposed to continue with your training and learning across your career in whichever domain you are, and scale up on your knowledge. The moment I say knowledge and skills, you'll have to scale up, because what you know today may not be viable after 5 to 10 years. So you'll have to sort of rewire yourself every time and adapt to the newer skills, because technology is advancing to a very fast, at a fast pace. Now, as you know, my dear students, with COVID-19, you know, we went into lockdown mode from around 22nd 20, and we have witnessed. Okay, I will switch off my video. Yes, that's a good suggestion. Yes. So what we have seen is that COVID-19 lockdown and the associated changes which we had to bring in. For example, in higher education, we saw the advent of online learning, teaching and learning. So you see, the online teaching and learning has been a very disruptive change. So COVID-19 pandemic and the ensuing lockdown and restrictions has been an accelerated harbinger of several changes in higher education and education per se. Platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, we were not aware of. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, that, you know, rapid changes during our time, when I started off my master's, internet was not there. Google just came in around 1999. So very likewise, after a decade or after, 1.5 decade, after 15 years, we might find very new disruptive technologies coming into your domain or others' domain. So we have to be very geared up for adapting to the changes. The future, as you know, information even today is just at a click of a button, right? You just have to do a Google search, or you have to go to a particular, PubMed or Google Scholar, and you look for the information you seek. The key is transforming the information to knowledge, transforming the information and knowledge to skill sets, and that too skill sets which are very industry oriented, which will help you fetch an occupation, or which will help you also maybe begin your own enterprise. So all these things are something which you'll have to reckon with. For example, students who are in bioanalytical and instrumentation per se are looking into, they look into technologies of instrumentation. So they should know instrumentation well, know about validation, the regulatory requirements of good laboratory practices, good manufacturing practices, etc. They should know about separation of the analyte from the biological matrix, which can be blood, which can be any other system, and detection, identification, quantification of biological samples. Today, with the development and advent of hyphenated technologies, LCMS, MSMS, so many high-end hyphenated technologies, the quantum of analyte which we can analyze from any biological matrix has gone down dramatically. So your level of detection and your level of quantification, which was existing 10 years back, today you can go at a picogram level, you can go further down, and you can actually find out very trace amounts of analyte, a compound, or impurity in your sample. So these are the dramatic changes which has happened over the last decade, the last 10 to 15 years, right? So you who are in bioanalytical would also get into proteins, peptides, DNA and drug studies, metabolite studies, thermal analysis, tracer techniques, good manufacturing practices. Those who want to enter into pharma and allied fields should know about bioavailability and bioequivalence, because that is where you will be evaluating, analyzing the amount of drug or metabolite in body fluids like, let's say, saliva or serum or cerebrospinal fluid or urine. You should know the laboratory GLP practices. You should know about method validation. You should know, very important, driven by ethics. You should know the regulatory rules which are governing these processes, submissions required, etc. Many of you who are into bioanalytical can also, even biotechnology, can also go into clinical forensics, environment and pharmaceutical sciences. Nutraceuticals is one more field. I know some of you are from Nutra, is one field which is going to prosper by leaps and bounds. All companies who are in hardcore pharma have also had allied investments, because today the population is looking for preventive health. Once you are sick, you are in that track of buying medicines and trying to, for lifestyle disorders like diabetes, hypertension, and many others. It never, there is no complete resolution and radical cure, right? So what the population is now looking at is preventive health, do yoga, wellness, nutraceuticals, functional food. What are you eating, and what is the impact of your food, your nutraceutical elements which you're taking in on your overall health, and does it prevent illness? One thing which is going to be very important is, now I am in pharmacology. So we do a lot of molecular biology studies on, when we started off about diseases, we used to know what is the system. For example, cardiovascular. So blood vessels, what was happening, heart mein kya ho raha, and what was the end repercussions. Today we know not only about the system, we know about in the organ, every cell, what are the changes happening at a cellular level. So if a person has got Alzheimer's disease, which is a neurodegenerative disease, we know what is happening in the brain cells. We are aware between one neuron and the other in the synapse, what is happening, why dementia is ensuing, and what are the pathological changes. And as a precursor to it, we know what are the molecular changes, what are the cellular changes, which proteins are rising, which proteins are falling, which is the genes which are aberrant, which genes get overexpressed, which genes are getting underexpressed. We know so much now that the entire dogma of designing medicines or improving, giving elements or functional foods or nutrients to improve or to delay onset of the disease has the background information has widened dramatically, offering us newer targets for disease states. Now that is one area, my dear students, you should look into the food industry. And one important thing for India with a large population is the food security. So one area which, again, I will say agricultural biotechnology. Now you all are from a field where you can go into agricultural biotechnology. You know how Israel is doing so well in its complete, what you call it, self-dependence for food and fruits and other allied products, horticulture and agriculture. They don't, not only they produce enough for their own country, they produce so much that then they can export. Israel can be a very, very positive case study to see self-reliance. Very similarly, you see our Honorable Prime Minister after COVID-19 gave a clarion call to the population that, look, we have to be Atmanirbhar Bharat. So how do we become Atmanirbhar Bharat? When we have all the essential products being manufactured in-house, in our country. And you, my dear students, are at a cusp where we have seen an unprecedented COVID-19 like kind of pandemic, which we have seen very after 100 years, after a century, after the Spanish flu, which hit mankind. So this is something which has been an eye-opener. Because when COVID-19 struck, we saw how many countries like Italy, Spain suffered from deficiency of essential items like personal protection equipments, PPEs, ventilators, etc. And now, as you are from biotech and allied fields, you know how much investment Government of India has done to
to promote research for indigenous innovation associated with COVID-19 treatment, etc. And now you know Bharat Biotech has developed a vaccine which is completely developed by our country. And the clinical trial also took place here. And we also know how Serum Institute, which is a large manufacturer, globally for vaccines, which is one of the main supplier of vaccines to WHO, how it has been able to take the mantle of manufacturing of the COVID-19 vaccine, which it has developed with AstraZeneca along with Oxford University. Animal biotechnology is one field which is coming up, and you all can get jobs in that. Aquaculture, aquaponics, biodefense. I'm a bit, it's a loaded term. Many people in the beginning of COVID was saying, is it actually a bioweapon? We don't know for sure, but that's certainly sure that, the COVID virus is very, very much virulent, and the clinical manifestation is very varied, as you know. Not only does it impact the lungs, it also impacts our vascular system, leading to internal clots, dramatic rise in markers like D-dimer, a clotting and a stroke, and, basically vascular events is very common in COVID patients. So, that is one area. Biofuels, as you know, we are looking for greener fuels using algae, corn, etc. So biofuels, biomaterials, my dear students, the Indian Ocean, they say, has not even been explored beyond 5%. Jeel, can you silence yourself? Yeah, thank you so much. So biomaterials, scaffolding, artificial engineering of limbs, human parts. We already know that skin is being engineered. Can we engineer the kidney for patients who've had total, complete chronic kidney failure or acute kidney failure, so that he or she need not take a transplant from a relative or a compatible donor? So, that is one area which is going to bioscaffolding and using, this for making human organs, right? Because we know now stem cell technology is also coming up. The kind of dramatic change which we expected from stem cell, the stem cell therapy, and when the Human Genome Project got completed, we did not get that kind of impact. The reason being that most of the diseases which impact humans, whether it is diabetes, whether it is cancer, are multi-genetic or multi-gene diseases. Many genes are involved. There are very few diseases where single gene is involved, like cystic fibrosis, some of the metabolic conditions of aromatic amino acid storage, etc. So, my dear students, this is one area which needs more exploration. Bioprocessing. So typically, if you go to a biotech industry, I'm very much fascinated by the biotech industry. You can make monoclonal antibodies. You can make human proteins like the human insulin. You can make so many life-saving drugs. You can go to the vaccine industry also, related to bioprocessing. And as you know, typically a bioprocessing setup, well, it will be a fermentation setup. You may be using either, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, that is yeast. You may be using E. coli, or you may be using the CHO cells, if you're using mammalian cells. And then after the fermentation, the arduous task and the most difficult task of extraction of the protein of interest without changing it. Remember, you have recombinant DNA technology you are using to tweak your microorganism or a cell in question to produce our human proteins, correct? It can be human chorionic gonadotrophin, it can be any other, okay? And then after you've propelled those microorganisms or cells to manufacture our proteins, then the task comes downstream. How are you going to extract it, purify it, and minimize the solvent usage, etc., so that your safety and your end product compliance is maintained? That is one area, my dear students, you can look into. Biotechnology, it's all related to biotechnology. So bioprocessing would be more, technically, you should know your fermenters, you should know all your extraction devices, you should know the processes. Cell culture is something you can go into. You can go into plant tissue culture, mammalian cell culture or micro cell culture, conservation biology. You can, if you are interested, you can go to cosmetics companies like L'Oreal, etc. They hire biotechnology and applied biology, even bioanalytical students. Uh, my dear students, many of you all must be aware, your colleagues, your seniors would have got themselves absorbed in companies like IQVIA or Novartis in clinical data management or data management per se. The kind of data which exists today, everything digitized archive data, looks for large voluminous data analytics and data management. You have ample data. What sense do you make of that data is very critical. So data analytics is, my dear students, is one area which is going to come up, where you see here the jargon of big data analytics, etc. So that would be a bit, you should at least, you have those Swayam courses, NPTEL courses, government is offering you, so you can go out of your comfort zone, get yourself trained in Python, which is one software and a language rather. So you can learn that, you can learn statistics, you can learn biostatistics, and these are going to help you in your career. So one step extra, drug discovery and development, the vaccine trials have happened. Even remdesivir, as you know, was developed for Ebola infection, okay, by the company based in US. And remdesivir later came into the market after the US FDA announced it for COVID-19. Currently, the dynamic studies on the
Ma'am, again, your voice is cracking.
For example, if you can just confirm whether you can hear me, I can continue.
It's clear now, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that is one, drug discovery. There are myriad of verticals under drug discovery. Okay. First is the preclinical, okay, where you can do it in cell lines, you can do it in rodents, you can do it in primates, the experimentation to prove your concept. And once your concept is proven and you are filing for your new investigational product or molecule, then comes the clinical trials. So you all, whether you are from biotechnology, whether you are from bioanalytical, whether you are from bioinformatics, whether you are from Nutra with the basic knowledge, you can be absorbed by pharmaceutical and allied industry in drug discovery. You can go into education like me, become a faculty, a teacher, both in school, secondary school, or you can come to higher education. Environmental monitoring is one area. Sustainable development is the key, my dear students. So environmental monitoring, food safety, forensics, genomics. One of my students, I remember, who was interested in chemistry, he went on to go to US for MS and PhD. And he started off with a beginning company, a startup, which was essentially doing bioinformatics work to predict microbial mutation. If I can know how Staph aureus is going to mutate, will I get methicillin resistant Staph aureus, or will the next leg of higher version of my antibiotics also show resistance? Microbes show resistance, whether it is Staph aureus or Pseudomonas aeruginosa. It will help us prepare our arsenal of synthetic antimicrobials and antibiotics. So my dear students, this is one area, going into genomics and going into predictive, studies for understanding mutations in nature. One more area, as you know, is transgenic plants. Monsanto, as you remember, India went through a lot of controversy that we do not want BT Bengal, remember, and mutated versions, of rice, because we would want to preserve our indigenous strains and, you know, of our vegetables and our grains and our lentils. So I think a very conscious and good call by the government. Immunochemistry is one area where you can go, laboratory safety, marine biotechnology. You know how High Media as a company has grown. So media and solution preparations, this area, medical devices, specialty chemicals. As I told you, any company would have a quality control, quality assurance division, protein purification, plant biotechnology, vaccines, water quality. My dear students, you all can go into water remediation, water quality. Now, within the heart of Mumbai, we have one of the most polluted river flowing, that is Mithi. Many outsiders don't even realize that it is a river. So what is the bioremediation strategies? Can we remediate? Can we make our city beautiful? If you see big cities globally, whether it is Paris or London or New York, are known for the rivers flowing through the city, which is beautiful with the embankments. Why can't we make our own Mithi River beautiful? Please be aware of your surrounding. Don't think pastures are green far off. Think of our own surrounding. What can we do for our surrounding? That is very important. Now, my dear students, Madam had told me, Professor Garje had also told me that give them some idea on newer areas of research. As Shraddha Madam mentioned to me, one area where, you know, work is going on that's going to bring about dramatic change in cancer treatment is immuno-oncology. Redirecting our own T cells, our own immunosurveillance cells, our own antibodies packaged correctly to attack our cancer cells. So that will reduce the side effect, like which is associated with radiation therapy and chemotherapy. One more area, my dear students, is CRISPR. You must have heard about it. CRISPR is the clustered, regularly interspaced, short palindromic repeat, which is used for editing genomes in general, correct genetic defects, treating and preventing the spread of diseases, improving crop yields, etc., is one area which is related to biotechnology. But I think that applies to even my field, you know, into your any other field. It's basically a methodology which is used to, you know, basically deal with genes, rectify them, etc., use it for treatment and also improving yields. Another area with Industry 4.0, my dear students, is use of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, Internet of Medical Things. So it is going to come as in a big way in diagnosis, in drug discovery, etc. So understand what artificial intelligence is. That's why I said, please learn at least one software, one program, one coding this like Python. Brush up on your statistics and biostatistics. Understand what is artificial intelligence. One more area which is coming up is nanotechnology and 3D printing. 3D printing is also being, you know, used now for scaffolding, bioscaffolding of organs. It is used for manufacturing things like microneedles, so many things. Remember when the COVID happened, Pittsburgh came with an idea that they are using microneedles for vaccine delivery skin, you know, non-invasive. In the future, diagnosis will be very real time, like we used to see in sci-fi movie in early days and now also. So it's not something which is, you know, it's going to be in the dream or in the virtual world. It's going to become a reality. Bioinformatics, another area which I'm also working now. I've just started off to identify, because, you know, there is something called as systems pharmacology. Your diseases is not associated with one defect of pathway, biochemical pathway, one organ. For example, in diabetes, the liver is involved, the pancreas is involved, you know, the skeletal muscle, heart eventually gets involved. If diabetes remains uncontrolled along with hypertension, your kidney gets damaged. So, you know, there is a lot of involvement of several organ systems and biochemical pathway. Bioinformatics helps us store, retrieve, analyze large quantities of biological data. And through the development of algorithms and statistical testing, we can make sense of it, read it, and we can propose, propose something which is happening based on the data. So this is what I wanted to cover about. And as I told you, my dear students, you have to continue training across your career, try to imbibe newer skills, and that is the way forward. I would now, Shraddha Madam, request the students to pose me a couple of questions.
So, yes, ma'am. Now the deck is open for questions. Kavita, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, students. I'm sure, especially at the TY level and MSc level, you must be having a lot of questions, concerns about career options and your passionate areas. So you have the right resourceful person in front of you. Please post your questions. You can also unmute yourself one by one and ask your questions. I would encourage everyone to think of your relevant questions, and please ask, madam.
Ma'am,
Yes, Pranav.
ma'am, yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
I'm particularly interested in further higher studies, like postdoctoral studies, specifically in Israel, where they have developed. That means, as you already mentioned, that they are producing an extra amount of food. That means they are exporting it to other countries. So, which is a website which will give me details about different universities in Israel or Europe or any other country where the field of food and nutrition specifically has progressed specifically.
Pranav, I appreciate your thought that you would like to go to Israel, but specific which university is working on which thrust area, you will have to Google. First, you find the
Okay.
list, and you can always approach the consulate or the commission's office and find
Right.
out more details, because most countries encourage foreign students studying in their land, in their universities, because that builds
Right.
in a diversity in their campuses as well, and it's a win-win situation. So I would
Right.
request you to just Google and find out. And if
Okay.
ever I get to know anything, I will share it with Shraddha Madam.
I'm sorry, but I'm not very much satisfied with Google searching of this specific universities
For
because
example,
the
Pranav, we in between France consulate came out with lot of this and training for students for study in France. Okay, and that was
okay.
on varied fields in science and engineering. So you
Right.
can always approach the consulates and they will give you more details. If
Yeah.
you want more genuine, foolproof data, it's good to, because they have a cell which looks into it.
Right.
Most of the foreign offices of countries have a cell which, especially the large ones, they have cells looking into it, and the exchanges, including cultural as well as educational exchanges, they also try to attract Indian students to their land for study.
Right. So I can see the website of the consulates of the different countries.
No, not only the consulate, you have to personally approach and maybe pose a
Okay.
question for their this, they will have a point of contact in their website, but you'll have to go
Right.
to the university websites, and university websites will also have a point of contact which interact with foreign students and give them information, and those are all
Right.
genuine information.
Okay.
So you
Consulate.
will
I have to
also get to
personally.
know whether
Okay.
fellowships etc are available, so that your cost of education goes down.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am.
Is BARC good for PhD in biological sciences? Yes, absolutely. BARC has very good, base in biological sciences. In fact, I have one collaboration with Dr. Santosh Sandur, who himself has returned from abroad, and they do a lot of molecular biology, and they have very good equipments facility to do good quality research. And they also work along with ACTREC, and they're all allied, and it helps. ACTREC is there, and BRNS, this bodies are there, and BRC themselves. And the advantage there also is, if you have anything where you want to label your compounds with radioisotopes, it is easier to do when you are looking into tracers and you want to do you want to do studies where tracers are involved. That kind of work. In fact, we also use a lot of technetium, you know, in our studies, and then we have to all go to BARC or to attracted to our study. What else can we do other than in industrial and research work as our career? You can go into academics, but you'll have to do research to go into academics, and you have to continue to do research. You can, Debashish, you can also go into business development. Many pharma allied companies, they pay a lot to business development front end personnel, because they get the business, especially in service provider companies like TCS, Cognizant, and many companies, even for Novartis, etc., when they have to get some business for their centers. It's there in Hyderabad, for example. Another area which you can go is statistics. Statisticians are very much coveted by banking sector, by pharma, allied, you know, name it. So if you are good in mathematics, you have an inclination for statistics, you can combine your current degree with next degree, which is on statistics. You can go into data analytics. There are many things. So you can go into that. You can go, Debashish, you can go into marketing and sales. If you have a flair for that, that is one area you can go. Pradnya, can you suggest some institutions in Mumbai which provide PhD in clinical research? You can go into NIRRH, since you're from pure science background. You can do you can essentially, as per Schedule Y of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, a principal investigator who is working on humans has to be an MBBS basic education, you know, principally. And then, so yes, that is what you need to do. So about marine biology and its scope. Marine biology is coming up. In fact, University of Mumbai is going to announce a center of excellence in maritime studies. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now the University of Mumbai, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear? So the University of Mumbai is coming up with a center of excellence in maritime studies. So that will also have marine biology, MSc in maritime studies. We are soon going to announce it by March. So, you know, Indian National Institute of Oceanography, and there are many CSIR and other facilities which are essentially working on marine biology. And I think marine biology has to come up. Many other countries has to come up. And there are lots to be done there. Remember, I told you that Indian Ocean, if you see per se, is hardly a kind of explorations which innovative businesses you have. If your idea is good, if your idea is good, the university has an incubation center. You can incubate yourself here or in IITs. Government also gives lot of funding for startups, but your idea has to be innovation driven, because the moment your idea is innovation and out of the box, the competition is less and the success rates are higher. Bioinformatics job till now is not so much in India compared to abroad, but I am expecting that this sector, this area will increase, and companies like Novartis and other companies do take ACTREC used to have a base in bioinformatics where research was going on. But you know, you can make bioinformatics as one part of your research or your part of your study. You know, because remember, this is a computer generated, algorithm driven conclusion you are drawing. Okay. And then you'll have to fortify that with a in vivo kind of a work, which will say that yes, whatever postulation you have done, it works in the in vivo real life or a real system scenario. Okay. That will be required. Yeah, clinical research people are doing really well, and pure science people are doing really well in clinical research. For abroad, you have to give GRE, like, you know, and every country has its unique entry. Colon, DIAS, you need to know that you have to see which are the requirements, for example, for Germany, for Australia, for US, and accordingly, you'll have to give those examinations. PET is only for here, for our university, you know, PhD entrance test. Drug diagnosis, yeah, Sana Sheikh, I want to do PhD in drug and diagnostics. You can try for a PhD in TIFR or in NIRH, other CSIR facilities, and see whether they are doing anything, ICERs, and see whether they are doing anything which is suiting your area of interest. Oncology best place would be to initiate research in ACTREC and any other research center or CSIR facility, or colleges like mine where we are working on drug delivery to cancer, you know, novel drug delivery system for cancer. Biodefense, I really don't know biodefense, how much is very, what do you call it, a topic of contention. Maybe DRDO and these things might have, but I think it's all, I'm not aware of it. But yes, you can work on microorganisms certainly for a research interest. And then MSc in bioanalytical science, you can very well do your PhD. The reason being that it will give you more hands-on experience on working on high-end instruments, and you will be more comfortable with knowing extraction principles, processes. You'll be working with more molecules, you know, extraction from the matrix, and probably it will give you a more stronger experience and knowledge to get a better job in the industry. Especially try to get your experience in handling these high-end hyphenated systems. That will really help you get a better job. Bureaucratic sectors, you know, biotechnology's department is driven by Department of Biotechnology, and as you know, committee because you will have a either a class who's entering the laboratory. So there are very niche requirements, you know, my dear students. Inorganic chemistry, I think Professor Garje can tell you a lot, who is the associate dean. Lot of, you know, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, the industry is open. You can go to active pharmaceutical ingredients. You can go to pharma. You can go to polymers. You can treatment. So many scholarships abroad. In India, you know, all these government fellowships are there. JRFs, Junior Research Fellow from CSIR. You're not, I'm not audible. Restrictions on effluents and, you know, by the government with lot of ordinances and statutes and laws. Environmental biotechnologies has a good role to make processes more greener, reduce also the energy usage, basically to reduce the carbon footprint of processes and also of humans and mankind as a whole. Can you hear me now, madam? What I said?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
If the students pursue degree from abroad, they are paid more. Oh, no, abroad. See, here in India, we do not very much care if you're coming from abroad and, the price. Here we have our systems in place. So basically, when you go abroad, if you want to earn in dollars, then you probably seek a job there, because here sometimes, I don't think they give a special preference to people who are returning with a degree from abroad, unless, it's an Ivy League like Cornell or Harvard or Stanford or MIT, and your CV with your experience, a skill which you have, etc. So it's not just a degree from abroad helps you in getting a job. No, attributes which get software programs which you can learn. You can, as I told you, go to the Swayam website, NPTEL website of government. MHRD has made it so easy. Take on online courses. The course is free. You only have to pay 1,000, 1,500, something like that, to give the exam and get your certificate. But remember, any of these courses are not easy. They are run by big. What do you look for when you take interviews to guide students? When I take students for my PhD, of the technical knowledge which they have, I don't expect the sky from them, but what they have studied or what the master's project they have done, they should be thorough about it. I try to find from their body language and from the way they speak, aims,
Ma'am, you aren't audible at all.
way they speak. Madam, I don't know why I'm not audible. In fact, I've taken the mobile right in front of my face. I said I look for, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I look for integrity, when the candidate is speaking, I can understand ethics, clarity of thought, and a focus. Clarity of thought and focus is very important, and the passion to do PhD. And they should not be doing it just merely for the degree of, getting a DR in front of their name. It's very important, because the kind of research I do, I need a lot of commitment for laboratory work, and I need a lot of commitment when they have to write the manuscripts, scientific writing. But I many times get students from vernacular medium. I train them, no problem. So basically, I look for a student who is committed, who is passionate for research. I told you already about nutraceutical and functional food industry. A lot of scope in nutraceutical, and it's going to come. It's affording. It is going. Food, drinks, 3 fatty acids, right? Vitamin K related, something. We have a lot of Ayurvedic this which has been incorporated. They want to be healthy, and they want to life which is fulfilling. It is very the balance between work and life. So, it's very important for all of us to understand. Youngsters like you, very much hooked on to the digital world. So you also need a type of a bit of a detox, from the digital world sometimes. Because by the time you will turn 30, 35, you will burn out if this is the vices, and all these Insta, Facebook, etc. This is going to come in a big way. And I'm can you narrate the questions to me?
Sure, ma'am. I'll do that. May I read out the question, ma'am?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, one of the questions says, ma'am, what exam should be given for us to get a job in the government sector after MSc in bioanalytical sciences? Do I need to repeat, ma'am? Ma'am, you're not audible, ma'am.
Again, can you hear me?
Yes, now it is clear, ma'am. All of a sudden, it goes on and
I
off.
We are in the university, not LSG building. And there's a signal problem here, madam, probably.
Again, it's
So please bear with me.
yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Yeah. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, this is better.
Nice. Better? Okay. So what, madam, whether suppose that candidate wants to go forensic or central government, there are a lot of Department of Biotechnology will be taking, right? There are many bodies. There are a lot of CSIR facilities will hire, technicians or analytical personnel. So that candidates to really find out what is the eligibility criteria and whether there is any examination on that basis. Hello?
Ma'am, again, you're not audible.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear now? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So I said the candidate has to explore whether the forensic departments or the Department of Biotechnology or CSIR facilities in India. There are so many national laboratories, National Institute of Immunology, so many who hire technical experts and technical personnel. So what is the eligibility criteria and what is the entrance level examination the candidate has to find and likewise apply throughout India.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hello?
another. Yes, ma'am. That was audible, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am, another question I had is like when it comes to the central or the government bodies, if there are PhDs, is it mandatory to have a net set qualification to, get into research or, allied areas?
No, I think that is the prerequisite only for academics. I don't think that is a prerequisite unless that candidate wants to be a JRF and do a pure research. Okay, then many of the CSIR facilities, they would take the JRF, CSIR JRF or UGC JRF candidates, and that fellowship will come. I don't think it is a mandate.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, another question that has come up is, can you give an idea about how to get job in cosmetic industry after MSc in biotechnology?
You have to apply and go for the interview. L'Oreal, Lakme, to excipients. Even there are other companies who supply excipients, which is used for high-end cosmeceutical products like Gatefosse, which is a French company. Likewise, there are many companies. So you'll have to find out, go give the interview and go for it. Right. Apply and go for it. Many of these multinational companies on their website have a portal, in part of the portal, they will have a submission, online submission for jobs. So you can put it up. It is like, you are doing as a candidate, you are applying. Many multinationals have it and their HR checks those portal submissions. Hello?
Okay. Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is CRISPR kit legal in India? If yes, could we work with it?
Legal?
So maybe we can have another session later on similar field, and we can conclude this session also. So Shraddha and Kavita madam are there, no? Who are coordinating.
Yes, yes, sir.
Uh,
Sir, I am Dr. Kavita Pandey. Yes, sir.
okay.
Okay, sir. I think in that case, we can collate all the questions from the students and maybe mail it to Anuradha ma'am. And accordingly, when her replies are available, we can circulate it back to the students. Okay, in that case, we can stop this session here. And I would request Dr. Garje, Director of the Garware Institute of Education and Research, to kindly interact with our students. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Over to you.
Yeah. Good evening, all the students. It is not kind of interaction. I just wanted to say thanks to Anuradha madam because it was just a last moment invitation to her. And there is certainly, you might have realized, she was most appropriate speaker to give you guidance in the field of biological sciences, what are the career, options for you after you complete your degrees. So she covered whole spectrum in this area, starting with biofuels up to medical devices, immunochemistry, theoretical calculation methods in this field, and so on. And recent whatever developments are happening in the corona, whether you can take up those kind of research, that also she talk about. Uh, you see, one of the thing is, it is not only the study makes the difference. You have to be very much clear since your beginning of your study that what career path you want to choose or what you want to do after your maybe MSc or PhD. Because ultimately, unless you decide that career path, your efforts will be wasted. So in order to have that kind of clarity, Garware Institute of Career Education and Guidance, we thought that we can have this sort of program wherein we will actually give the career guidance to the students from the experts, and we'll have this kind of series of workshops. So I'm sure that this particular workshop has is of immense help to you, and you will be able to at least make out or frame your career path. And please don't be reluctant. If you have any more questions, you can post it to Kavita madam or maybe Shraddha madam, and we'll further be giving those questions to those experts, and we'll keep interacting. One more thing I'm happy to tell you about is I am also a product of Khalsa College. I did my BSc from inorganic chemistry and later on MSc from Ruya inorganic chemistry, and then PhD from BARC. In those questions, one of the question was what is the option for or what is the career choice for inorganic chemistry. So you see that inorganic chemistry also has got a lot of scope later on. The nano chemistry which is coming up, or nanomaterials, that is kind of area where inorganic chemistry plays a lot of role. And so there is one more option for you is one scheme is there which is called as Bombay University or Mumbai University BRC collaboration scheme. And that scheme is only for Mumbai University students. So those who are willing to do PhD at BARC, they should keep watch on that advertisement. That procedure is something like this, that they conduct the interviews for Mumbai University students and then they select you. And that even though that interview is very rigorous, but it is only for the Mumbai University students. So you need to prepare for it. I will not take much time. With this, I would like to thank entire team of the Khalsa College, Dr. Kavita Pandey. Dr. Kiran Mangavkar happens to be my teacher in Ruya College. And also the college premises, whatever other earlier teachers were there, I was there for enter 3 years. So I'm very much attached to Khalsa College, and I'm very happy that this particular workshop was held at this college. So with this, let me thank one and all. Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words and details. Yeah, Kavita ma'am.
Now, I just wanted to thank him and thank Anuradha ma'am Thanks to the entire team of organizers who put across such a wonderful opportunity for students to put across their questions. And I'm sure there must have been some students who have not really given a thought of what career they are getting, going to get into. But this would have acted as a brainstorming for them and sensitized them to think over and start planning their careers. So, in general, a heartfelt thanks on behalf of Khalsa College, on behalf of the other two mentors, Dr. Gursimran Kaur Uppal and Ms. Priyanka Dave. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving us an opportunity and organizing this wonderful session for us and providing us the platform for the same. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I
now
think with this we
you all
can.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, you all can quit the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can end this
Oh,
meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
yes. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Shraddha, madam.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Sindhu. Thank you.